I'm happy, thanks always, Cindy. These were the sudden sleep-talk words of Mark. As I covered him with the blanket, my movements halted. My body completely stopped, and all my motor skills seemed to be converted into energy for thought, calmly connecting the content of the sleep talk and his recent suspicious behavior. The name Mark thanked, Cindy, was familiar to me, undoubtedly the name of a woman he dated in college. Sometimes, I recall the sweet perfume clinging to Mark's clothes. Now, I quietly remove the flashy necklace hanging around my neck, not at all to my taste, and look down at Mark's sleeping face. Thanks, Cindy. Once again, Mark mumbled in his sleep. This time, I heard it clearly. Well, thanks for everything, I replied to his sleep talk. I heard a superstition that responding to sleep talk can bring a curse, but maybe, just maybe, I hoped Mark would wake up and apologize voluntarily. My name is Naomi. I put the household ledger on the dining table, staring at the numbers alternating between income and expenses, sighing at the reality they represented. Today was my part-time job day at the local supermarket, where I bought a can of beer on my way home. Just a drink for tonight, no snacks. Working the cash register for years, I sometimes feel empty comparing my life to the luxurious items in other people's baskets. Mark, my husband, works in accounting at a design firm, earning a decent salary. He always thought he was good with money, so I let him handle our finances until I was over 50. But then, my phone suddenly stopped working, and I found out the bill wasn't paid. That was just the beginning of discovering Mark's debts from credit card payments and having to use our savings and cancel insurances to pay them off. Mark is serious by nature but tends to buy lots of alcohol and tobacco, unable to resist these daily indulgences. Tapping the numbers in the ledger, I ponder what to do. It's not like we're wasteful, but using our savings for his debts hurt. Considering my age, 54, I want to save for retirement. Our eldest son, Kyle, lives alone after graduating from a distant college. Our daughter, Lisa, is still in college, staying in a dorm, so we still need to support her. Mark is careless in many ways, but, in a sense, his laid-back life makes him kind and generous, which I truly love. But love alone doesn't change the harsh realities in front of me. First, I'll put Mark on an allowance, cut back here. I mutter to myself, staring at the ledger. As I ponder, Mark, fresh from a shower, sits opposite me, drying his hair with a towel, and grabs my half-finished beer. I'm thinking of starting a side gig, he suddenly says. I smell the scent of my slightly expensive shampoo, one I use exclusively. It's a floral fragrance that doesn't quite suit Mark, yet he uses it. Maybe because it lathers well or just because it's the first one he finds. I'm so used to his carelessness that I don't even feel like getting angry. Really? I ask without lifting my gaze from the household ledger. Mark remains silent, staring at the beer can in his hand. In the distance, I hear the sound of an ambulance siren. Both of us unconsciously strain our ears, tracking the high-pitched noise. I've caused trouble with the debt, so I'm thinking of finding something I can do. Just a bit more until Lisa graduates. After jotting down side job income in the ledger, I quickly black it out with a pen. No use getting my hopes up for income that's likely to disappear as soon as he finds it too hard to juggle with his regular job. And then, I want to take you to that restaurant we used to go to, remember? Almost reflexively, I take my eyes off the ledger and stare at Mark's face, watching the beer can. That restaurant we used to go to, he said. Immediately, my mind conjured up the French restaurant we frequented for anniversaries when we were dating. Despite being a bit away from the station, the glimpses I caught of it when passing by that street suggested it was still thriving, even now, 25 years later. Back then, we were young, not thinking about the future, just wanting to enjoy the moment. Now, I wouldn't dare mention wanting to go there, but Mark's unexpected words bring back those memories. Those precious, fun times. Well, why don't you give it a try, as long as you don't overdo it? Actually, there's this night shift job for warehouse organizing, he says, his eyes lighting up with the novelty of physical labor after years in accounting. He shows me the job listing on his smartphone screen. The pay isn't bad. A few days later, true to his word, Mark starts the part-time job. After finishing his day job and dinner, he heads out to work until late at night. It's not every day, but I worry about the strain on his nearly 60-year-old body. Yet, Mark seems to be thriving, showing an energy I hadn't seen before. He seems to even look forward to these night shifts after his day job. After a few months, Mark's demeanor becomes more lively, and I think the job has become a source of vitality for him. He's gotten used to it, and recently, he's been working almost every night, coming home late. Normally, I'd be asleep, but one night when I couldn't sleep, I hear Mark coming home, the sound of the door lock turning. He goes straight to shower. As I get up to use the bathroom, I notice a faint unfamiliar perfume scent in the hallway he passed through. The sweet scent brought the word affair to my mind, but I quickly dismissed it as impossible and returned to bed. Soon, sleep overtook me, and I drifted into dreams. As Mark started coming home late at night, I noticed our conversations began to lessen. Around that time, we were approaching our 25th wedding anniversary. Even on the day itself, Mark didn't suggest going out for a meal to celebrate. Could he be planning a surprise? I wondered. I only planned to go to the supermarket to buy dinner ingredients, but I did my makeup carefully, just in case. If he had forgotten our anniversary, I thought about what kind of whims I might demand. As I walked, pondering this, I passed by that memorable restaurant we used to visit. It reminded me that I had gone out for shopping, not just a stroll. Surely, the kids must have reminded him of the anniversary, just as they did me, so he couldn't have completely forgotten. As expected, Mark probably forgot about our anniversary. He came home drunk from a can't-say-no drinking party, quickly presenting me with a necklace he likely bought at a mall. Sorry for being at a drinking party on our anniversary. These things are tough, he said with a not-so-pained cheerful smile, passing me in the hallway to head to the bathtub. I caught a faint whiff of sweet perfume. A drinking party, just with colleagues? Huh? Yeah, that's right. I'm super tired, gonna take a quick bath. I put on the necklace he gave me and took out some white wine from the fridge. I had planned to have a quiet drink with Mark when he returned, but it seemed unlikely now. I poured the well-chilled white wine into a glass and sat down. Happy anniversary, I said, toasting towards the bathroom where Mark was likely showering. The cold white wine. Mark probably didn't remember, but we always drank white wine at that memorable restaurant. We didn't know the brands or understand the tastes, just ordered it to enjoy the ambience. Remembering those younger days, a smile spilled onto my face. But drinking alone felt too empty. I didn't even take a sip, wrapped the glass in plastic wrap, and put it back in the fridge, chuckling at the somewhat poor look of it. Mark came out of the bath and lay down on the couch, soon falling asleep with a snore. He had a night off from his part-time job, so I decided to let him sleep peacefully. I brought a blanket from the bedroom and covered him with it. Then, Mark smiled happily in his sleep, with a boyish expression. My lips curved in response. Even after all these years, his carefree smile in moments like this made me feel happy. I wondered when was the last time I saw such a content smile on Mark's face, weighed down by the years. I watched him deeply moved until his lips slightly moved. I'm happy, thanks always, Cindy. He mumbled in his sleep. The blanket in my hand stopped moving, and I froze. My body completely stopped, and it seemed all my motor skills were converted into energy for thought. I coldly connected the content of his sleep talk and his recent suspicious behavior. The name Mark thanked, Cindy, was familiar to me, almost certainly the name of a woman he dated in college. I remembered the sweet perfume sometimes clinging to Mark's clothes. Now, I quietly removed the flashy necklace hanging around my neck, not at all to my taste, and looked down at Mark's sleeping face. Thanks, Cindy, he mumbled again in his sleep. This time, I heard it clearly. No, thanks for everything, I replied to his sleep talk. I heard a superstition that responding to sleep talk can bring a curse, but maybe, just maybe, I hoped Mark would wake up and apologize voluntarily. I wonder if I was harboring such naive thoughts. Just a few minutes ago, I had found Mark's sleeping face endearing, but now, even the air he breathed seemed tainted with disgust. I decided to leave the house immediately for a certain purpose. I, who rarely drive unless it's Mark's car, started the engine after a long time. Since getting married, I hadn't needed to drive, essentially becoming someone who only had a license but hardly ever used it. But tonight, all those nerves about driving were gone. I put my driver's license into my coat pocket and boldly drove out of the garage. My destination was the logistics warehouse where Mark worked part-time. Driving absurdly slow, far below the speed limit, in a rush yet not, I silently thanked the heavens for no tailing cars as I navigated through the midnight streets. It took me several minutes to reach the warehouse. Unsure where to park, I found a spot that seemed least in the way. A security guard, an elderly man far past retirement age with a kind smile, looked at my car through the glass of what seemed like a guardhouse. Mistaking me for a warehouse worker, he didn't approach, so I went up to him. The security guard, an elderly man well beyond retirement age, greeted me with a kind smile and asked, "What can I do for you?" "I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm Naomi, the wife of Mark who works part-time here. I came to check his shift schedule with the department." "You need to check the shift," he asked, slightly puzzled, and then made an internal call. After a brief talk over the phone, he turned to me and said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but could you tell me why you need to confirm his shift?" Today was our wedding anniversary. But my husband fell ill, and we had to cancel the restaurant we had reserved for tonight. I thought of surprising him with a new reservation, so I needed to know his shifts. I lied, glad I had thought of a believable reason on my way here. The guard seemed convinced and downloaded the shift schedule from the computer in the security room, printing out and handing it to me. The past shifts revealed that Mark was away from home far less than he claimed. This confirmed my suspicion that he was pretending to work part-time at night while going somewhere else. I drove back home with extreme caution and silently retrieved Mark's smartphone from his scattered jacket. Without hesitation, I opened his messaging app. There, the exchanges with a woman named Cindy were vividly left. My heart pounded loudly. I took out the white wine I had left in the fridge earlier and unwrapped it. Taking a sip of the chilled wine, I photographed the conversation between Mark and Cindy displayed on his phone with mine. Furthermore, I secretly downloaded a GPS tracking app one learned about from a coworker onto Mark's phone, allowing me to track his location from my phone. Please let this just be a misunderstanding. I quietly closed my eyes, white wine in hand, in the living room filled only with Mark's snores. Mark might be cheating. No, he probably is. The messages on his phone were clear evidence. But maybe, just maybe, I misinterpreted them because of my own preconceptions? No. Impossible, he's definitely cheating. Where would he go, lying about his part-time workdays? I crawled into bed, torn between wanting to believe in my longtime husband and an instinctive rejection of him, feeling an overwhelming sense of helplessness. What should I do? What can I do? Oh, what should I do? Why did I go to check his shift at his part-time job? Why did I snoop through his phone for messages with another woman? Why didn't I ask him to come home early for our anniversary? If only I'd asked to be taken to the restaurant. Buried under the blankets, I felt pathetic for not acting sooner to prevent this situation, even though it wasn't my fault, and tears started to come. The next morning, I prepared breakfast as if nothing had happened. I planned to confront him with undeniable proof of his affair, then give him a thorough scolding. And then, I'd treat Kyle and Lisa to the most expensive course at that memorable French restaurant. Even though my disdain for Mark had begun to grow since confirming his infidelity, I hadn't yet considered immediate divorce. "Tonight I have work, so you can go to bed first," he said. While doing the dishes in the kitchen, I replied, "Okay." According to the shift schedule I received last night, Mark was supposed to be off tonight. It seemed Mark had no memory of last night, happily eating his sunny-side-up eggs for breakfast. Watching him eat, I couldn't help but imagine surprising him by adding something unexpected to the eggs. Of course, I had no intention of actually harming him, but watching him eat so contentedly stirred complex feelings in me. "All right then, I'm off," he said with a smile, heading to work. I watched his departing figure with a mix of admiration and bitterness. Cheating yet able to put on such an untroubled, guilt-free smile. Didn't he feel bad at all for sleeping through our anniversary yesterday? The anger in me began to reignite. I decided to call in sick to my part-time job and track Mark's movements using the GPS app. Checking his location on my smartphone, I saw he was currently stationary at his day job. Of course. If he were meeting his mistress during the day instead of going to work, I would have surpassed anger and directly handed him divorce papers. While half-jokingly self-deprecating, I informed Kyle and Lisa about the situation. Kyle's response over the phone was subdued, but Lisa came to the house a few hours later and hugged me as soon as she arrived. "Mom! How could Dad do this? I will never forgive him." Well, yeah. Lisa had come home from her university dorm for the first time in months, and right away, she was glaring at me, full of anger. I was taken aback. Well, I'm certainly upset about Mark's infidelity, but somehow I feel a disconnect. It's strange, it feels like I'm dealing with someone else's issue, not my own. It's all right, Mom. I'm here with you. We'll storm into the cheating scene, slap that woman, and wake Dad up to reality. Yeah, thanks. When did their relationship start? Was she a classmate of Dad's? Is she pretty? Lisa bombarded me with questions, none of which I had answers to. My confusion and frustration grew like a swirling storm inside me. In the evening, Mark called to say he'd grab dinner on his own before heading to his work. Lisa and I exchanged looks, suspecting Mark's night out despite no work scheduled. We tracked his GPS location, planning to catch him red-handed. It's like we're detectives, watching Mark's movements on the phone screen, I thought, as we saw Mark's location moving from his company to somewhere else. Hey, if Dad stops at a shop or something, that means he's going to meet her, right? We should storm in then. Seems so. I'm getting nervous. It's not going to lead to divorce all of a sudden, right? Just to check, Mom, you're not considering divorce, are you? Lisa looked at me anxiously. Being cheated on was infuriating, saddening, but it didn't erase our 25 years together. I wasn't planning on divorce over a momentary emotion. Don't worry. I'll just make sure he never cheats again by keeping him under tight control. I replied with a mischievous smile, and Lisa also smiled, relieved. Eventually, the GPS showed Mark stopping at a location not far from a station. Let me drive. Let's go, Lisa said. When I didn't respond immediately, she looked at me worriedly. What's wrong? I just stared at her silently. Sorry, Lisa. I might get a divorce. Outside was dark by then. Sitting in the passenger seat with Lisa driving, I gripped the hem of my clothes, trembling. Looking out the car window at the sparkling lights of the busy streets, I remembered the days Mark and I walked these paths. Back when we were young, we didn't have a car and would walk from the station at night, randomly ending up at a French restaurant after wandering and talking aimlessly. I remembered entering the restaurant, anxious about the potentially high prices. Enjoying the calm music and the fancy dishes. Laughing at Mark's shock over the bill. All those memories now seemed blurred, fading away like a mirage. We saw Mark and an unknown woman dining inside the restaurant we could see from the street. The sight of them sitting opposite each other, a woman who wasn't me in my place, filled me with anger and then a numbing coldness. No, Mark. Not this place. It's our special place. I had looked forward to returning here, reminiscing about our life's ups and downs over dinner. Seeing another woman smiling in my seat was a piercing blow to my heart. Inside the quiet restaurant, only Mark and the woman were seated. Ignoring the well-dressed waitress's greeting, I walked straight to them. Ah. Mark let out a small scream at my sudden appearance. The woman, frozen with a knife and fork in her hands, just stared. I ripped off the necklace Mark had given me and tossed it in front of him. It's not what you think, Naomi. This is, well. Yeah. I get it. The debt, the careless spending, the gifts that aren't my style, even the cheating. I had wanted to forgive the cheating. But I can't forgive you for tarnishing our memories. I want a divorce. After saying that loudly, I turned my back on a flustered Mark and left the restaurant. Lisa coldly brushed off Mark's attempt to follow, saying, "It's over," and we got back into the car to go home. I caught a glimpse of the waitress looking down awkwardly as we left, feeling sorry for her. On the drive back, Lisa suddenly burst into laughter. It wasn't to lighten the mood, she genuinely found it funny. Did we even spend a minute in there? Wasn't that super quick? It takes years to build a relationship, but only a moment to destroy it. I muttered, pondering my own words. It really was over in an instant. The traffic lights were all green on the way there, but now it was just red lights, their colors unsettlingly resonating with my feelings. Nothing but red lights. Yeah, but it'll turn green soon. Lisa said with a faint smile, murmuring, "That's true." Accepting Lisa's suggestion for a drive, we continued until midnight. We left the bustling city behind and kept driving along the highway. After asking if it was okay to play some music, Lisa put on some music that was entirely new to me, with a dispassionate voice that somehow soothed me. "Thanks, Lisa," I said, looking out the dark, empty car window to hide the tears welling up in my eyes. Later, I packed my things and left the house. Lisa invited me to stay with her at her dorm for a while, and we lived together. On the day I left, Mark didn't apologize, he just stood straight and saw me off at the entrance. I'm not sure if my decision was right. I can't say I'm not anxious about living alone from now on. Naomi. I was happy till now. If you ever need anything, just tell me. I'll always be there. I turned my back to Mark without responding, feeling his gaze pierce through me, almost breaking my heart. Mark, embarrassed by his actions being exposed at work and his part-time job, apparently resigned. The woman he cheated with was married too, and it seems they had quite a fallout. But to me, all that was irrelevant. All of us blocked Mark's calls, so no one knew what happened to him afterward. I didn't ask for alimony. The very idea of any connection with Mark, even in the form of alimony, disgusted me. After Lisa graduated, I started living alone and began a new job. One day, passing by the memory-filled restaurant, I saw it had closed down. It wasn't due to poor business, the owners were elderly, and everyone has their reasons. Well then, I said, stretching my body and taking a deep breath. The bond broken by my husband's infidelity might never be repaired, but I was determined to carve out my life from here on, looking up at the clear blue sky.